It's Judy Love Bowman. Thank you for joining me as we continue reading Peaches, Womanist Thoughts on Finding Peace, Overcoming Peril, and Tapping Power. We are in Chapter 2. If you're just joining us, thank you. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we upload new videos. We are in Chapter 2, page 87, for those of you who are reading along with us. We're in the chapter Sex and the Black Woman from Peaches. And the lies and myths about sex and sexuality. I have heard the following lies and myths about sex and sexuality. Myth: he is impotent, so he cannot rape. Because impotence was one of Dr. Lincoln's defenses in his assault trial, in my research I learned that rape is not about erections or lack thereof. Myth: if a child has a baby at 12, 13, 14, or 15, or is sexually active at this age, future sex acts are not considered statutory rape. This is exactly what the mother of a teen reported a deputy telling her when she found him leaving her apartment where her 13-year-old was home alone. You know as well as I do that just because two different people took advantage of a poor innocent peach and impregnated her, it does not mean everyone and anyone can do the same. When we want to be intimate with a person, it should be our choice. 3. Myth: the pregnant single woman needs to go to the pastor and stand in front of the church and repent. Often the peach is made to feel shameful in front of some congregation, while the deacon, boyfriend, friend's husband, pastor, postman, or mama's boyfriend who got her pregnant remains anonymous. I heard someone ask one peach, "Whose baby is it?" "Mine," she replied. Number 4, myth: if someone has been nice to you, you owe them sex. I don't have to print this, but when we are used to being mistreated, we often feel as if we have to trade sex for good treatment. Now, those are the lies and myths about sex and sexuality. Now, the truth about sex and sexuality. 1, fact: your body is the temple of God. 2, fact: sex is a sacred gift from God. God gave it as a gift to consenting adults who are in covenant with one another. 3, fact: sex is designed to be enjoyed and fulfilling. There should be no shame associated with sex, pregnancy, and breastfeeding. 4, fact: impotency has more to do with a mental state. It only means that a man cannot get an erection 80% of the time. 5, fact: rape has nothing to do with sex and orgasm. It has to do with power and pathology. 6, fact: no matter how powerful, resourceful, or helpful someone is, you have a choice with whom to share your body. 7, fact: we have all sinned and come short of God's glory. 8, fact: we can ask God for forgiveness of our sins and the sins of those who have violated or disregarded us in Jesus' name. 9, fact: Jesus came to save the world, not to condemn the world. Sex and power, and we're on page 84 for those of you who are reading along with us. Powerful men have been abusing their power, disrespecting and assaulting women throughout history. King David's son Amnon raped his sister Tamar in the book of 2 Samuel of the Old Testament. Rape has a lot to do with power. During slavery, black women were considered to be savages. Extreme cases of sexual power and abuse in some cultures includes genital mutilation, sex slavery, and forced group living situations. Recently, with examples like former Fox television anchor Bill O'Reilly, who was fired for having challenges with respecting women, we have seen an outward appearance that the rights of women are being managed more compassionately, as if we are humans too. I am thankful for ethical men. God is the judge on who is ethical or not, and an older minister would tell me some things you don't even tell yourself. I simply want to applaud ethical men before I say, rarely do men have consequences for using their power positions based in gender, race, eye color, and socioeconomic status to allegedly mismanage interactions. O'Reilly was seen in Italy shaking the Pope's hand when news of his termination from Fox was made public. We have all come short. We all need forgiveness and restoration. I am mentioning this to bring to view the way a white, blue-eyed, privileged male gets down after being fired. Juxtapose that with the way a black, natural hair-wearing, no wig, first-generation, college-educated female moves around. It is generally unhealthy to compare ourselves to others. God has specific plans for each of us. I am simply highlighting the dichotomy so that we can all feel the urgent need to become unified, confident peaches who can get over the past and tap into the power that we need to thrive, love, live, and give. After O'Reilly's termination, Fox released a statement, quote, "After careful review of sexual harassment allegations, Bill O'Reilly won't be returning," end quote. On the other side of every sexual harassment or sexual assault is a victim, survivor. During a year or so in graduate school, I worked as a fundraising at a battered women's shelter for survivors and their families. From their lives and from my own, I can say that no family is untouched when it comes to abuse and harassment. Every family has a perpetrator and a survivor, whether it is acknowledged or not. My heart and prayers go out to all survivors. Whatever happened to you was not your fault. I repeat, whatever happened to you was not your fault. Don't let a negative experience disrupt the rest of your beautiful life. I remember with great empathy and sadness the way C. Eric Lincoln's cousin, his alleged incest survivor, told me the way Lincoln molested her and allegedly another family member. She took a long pause, then smiled and said to me about her rapist, "I would show people his photo in ebony and say, 'That's my boyfriend.'" One moment she despised him and hated what he did to her. The next moment she was proud to be associated with him. There are times when people, like a classmate, Shanna, a childhood assault survivor who said her father and his friends used to film her, have to split themselves in order to deal with the pain. Whether you call it dissociative identity disorder or multiple personalities, from what I understand, when the pain or dysfunction is too deep, a survival strategy or coping mechanism is to create an alter ego or personality. Let me read that again. Whether you call it dissociative identity disorder or multiple personalities, from what I understand, when the pain or dysfunction is too deep, a survival strategy or coping mechanism is to create an alter ego or other personality. For example, Shauna had several personalities. Many of them were children, which is why she had so many toys in her dormitory room. One of her personalities wore sunglasses because she told me that the lights her father used to film her were so bright. As she describes her dad and friends filming, I did not know what to say when she, a Mexican-American sister, looked at me and my black self and said, "One of the men was a black man." Poor Shauna. Although this is a book for black women, life is not black and white. It is good and evil. The black man who allegedly participated in filming sex acts with a poor, defenseless child is evil. His actions are evil. You understand. Just as Atney's actions were evil for allegedly molesting his sister, Shalala, for years. I use the word allegedly for legal purposes only. I believe the stories. Some names have been changed, but the stories are 100% true. Yes, I believe all of you who have written me and called the prayer line, and I am sorry for what each of you has gone through. Shalala said that when her mom learned that her brother had been molesting her, she said, "If it happened." Sometimes others' disbelief of the trauma or the ordeal is almost as bad as the trauma itself. There's no right or wrong way to deal with abuse. Lincoln's cousin said she was very young, ages 12 to 22, when Lincoln allegedly assaulted her. I was also very young when Coach/Dean Talon abused me. I must have blocked it out because I remember very little. Lincoln's cousin went on to tell me that neither she nor other family members ever reported him for his alleged incest and sexual abuse because he was friends with Alex Haley, author of Roots, and because he was the first person in the family to be able to stay at the Hilton Hotel. As you are aware, blacks were excluded from white-only hotels during the 1960s. Even today, some whites will neither live near, send their children to school with, nor swim with blacks. We are not for sale. No matter how famous or what access or assets a person or institution has, we deserve to be treated with respect regardless of our history. Some black mistresses, like those of men like President Thomas Jefferson, who of course had presidential power, often benefited with regards to housing, food, medical care, and material things that other black women may not have had. For example, aside from the black dentists, black pastors, or black grave diggers and undertakers' wives, the black mistress may have been the only one on the block in the keeping up with the Joneses paradigm with certain material comforts, then a washing machine or sheet iron, now home buying power, vacation homes, etc. Reverend Lee often would refer to her first husband, as in ex-husband, a term I first learned on the WE show Braxton Family Values, as a good provider. I do believe that a husband should be a provider, protector, and priest. However, if there's a life-threatening situation, women should leave a relationship regardless of the material possessions. Jehovah Jireh is one of the Jehovah names of God, which means the Lord will provide. Most of the homeless women and children in America are homeless because of some type of abuse. I send my love and prayers to the homeless and to those who live in substandard conditions. But God owns everything, and God will provide. He will supply all of our needs. A hairdresser in Florida said at age 82, "I still do hair because pussy is cheaper than chicken." She explained, "I can't sell it anymore, so I have to do hair." I understand that our brains are not fully formed until we are around 25 years old. That fact, coupled with lack of experiences, unfounded optimism, lack of confidence, and the absence of at least one primary attachment figure to whom we are accountable, has caused many of us, peaches, to share our bodies with the wrong people too early and too frequently. Yes, many of us have been assaulted, but because you have been assaulted does not mean that anyone can be intimate with you at any time. Yes, many of us have had unprotected or protected premarital sex with the grace of God covering whatever consequences came along with it, but that does not give anyone the right to take advantage of us. Because we often are in situations where there's a scarcity of resources, I know that our time and bodies are often all we think we have to barter with in this capitalistic, materialistic, black, female disrespecting, photodramatic culture. Wow. That is not true. We have choices. Sex and appreciation. You do have choices. Along with the figurative fame and power access card, for sex comes with the appreciation pussy card. Because someone spends time with you and money on you, it may make you feel as if you owe them something. Have a conversation about expectations. I had an associate who allowed me to present my Save Tunica campaign at a major fundraiser, invited me to a dinner where I sat at a 6-top table with Muhammad Ali and Lonnie Ali, took me to Texas and fights in Las Vegas where I swam with Magic Johnson at Caesar's Palace and met Sugar Ray Leonard. I enjoyed the times we shared and was even able to preach at a relative's church on a trip to Vegas. However, I was probably 20 years old and had no idea what chemistry was. He and Mr. Lester, a man who would bring me flowers after I preached and take my son and me to movies and dinner, were so nice to me that I felt as if I owed them appreciation pussy. Reverend Neely, an older female minister and friend, even tried to peer pressure me, saying, Mr. Lester has been so nice to you and your son, and a man has needs. I almost felt obligated. Please learn from me that men can't get what they call coochie coupons. Don't make anyone think that if they're nice enough, it can all be cashed in for a potential sexual encounter. Our bodies are not for bartering. We are precious peaches. We are on a mission to thrive, so I'm trying to be naked and unashamed with you. I take that back. We are on a mission, but I am a little embarrassed about some of the situations I found myself in. When I preached in Las Vegas one Sunday, the driver picked me up in front of Caesar's Palace. My friend ejected me from the room with the round bed, which he booked since I was conducting a workshop that Saturday, because I did not want to be intimate with him. He said the workshop was today and put me out of the room. How dreadful. Poor Peach. When I think of coochie coupons, which is such a gross phrase, I think of Leo too. Leo said to me, I know you're not having sex, but if you do, I know I'll be the first one because I have been the best to you. It's almost like a competition or a bank account. Sex is not to be gambled on. I have moved a lot in every town, Virginia, Texas, Florida, Mississippi, and not so much in Massachusetts. The men want to be the first ones to date you, so if they are in competition with the others in the class, church, or neighborhood, they want to be the first ones to date you as if they are in competition with the others in the class, church, or neighborhood. None of us is perfect. It is just good to try not to put ourselves in certain situations and remember that sex is serious and sacred. Sex, it is a serious matter. Dr. Thinkenshine teaches that sex is a sacred gift that God gives to two adults who are in a covenant relationship. Sex is neither a form of currency, a recreational activity, nor a situation to be exploited. It is a gift from God to be enjoyed. When a reported 20.9 million people are being sex trafficked each day as a form of modern slavery, the dominance and the debasement of women is not simply locker room talk or normal as some would spin it. It is dangerous. Whether it is power, appreciation, prostitution, or something else, sex is sacred and should be handled as such. Some women like Pecola Breedlove and Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye see sex as a duty and just want the man to hurry, try not to get her hair and sheets dirty, and finish his business. To some women, sex is a dirty job. To others, it is business. Long Dong Silver. Sex sales. Some women make their living in the sex business. Others are forced to work in it. Scandalous sex sales. Often the male in the scandal is held in esteem as a hero, while the debased woman is seen as low-down, non-marriage material. No matter what opinions U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas writes, he will go down in history for his alleged association with the pornographic Long Dong Silver and the debasement of Professor Anita Hill. No matter how well the economy was doing under Bill Clinton's administration, he will go down in history for his affair with the now famous Monica Lewinsky. He went down as a man's man while she went down in shame. Clarence Thomas and Bill Clinton enjoy celebrity and fame, while attorney Professor Anita Hill and designer Monica Lewinsky are known for little more than a blowjob and a Coke can. How unfair. Even the press can be abusive. I express the damage the press can do in my poem Speech, which I wrote during the Commonwealth of Massachusetts versus C. Eric Lincoln. Free speech is a right which cannot be retracted. Handle it with care. Please don't paint the criminal as a saint and leave the victim standing there. Free speech is a right, but lest we forget, rights must be handled well. For the victim you expose, crushed like a rose, sprayed with a hose, is not worth the papers and hits you sell. In the April 21st, 2016 edition of the Roanoke Tribune, Lily Wertner of the Huffington Post describes the way Anita Hill's story sparked the Women in Politics movement. At the time of Clarence Thomas' confirmation hearing for the U.S. Supreme Court, Anita Hill was a law professor at the University of Oklahoma. She testified that Thomas initiated conversations with her about sex acts, lewd ideas such as pubic hair on a soda can, and mentioned pornography. Thomas has always vehemently denied these accusations and eventually went on to win the confirmation. During Thomas' confirmation hearing, Senator Alan Simpson, a Republican on the Judiciary Committee, said, "I think it is a very cruel thing that we are witnessing, very hard and very sad." He went on to say Anita Hill will be sucked right into the very thing she wanted to avoid most. She will be injured and destroyed and belittled and hounded and harassed. Real harassment, different from the sexual kind, plain old Washington variety of harassment, end quote. Why does the change agent or truth teller have to be injured by individuals and institutions? This goes back to my introductory mention of the African proverb, which suggests that those who lie are welcome to stay, and those who tell the truth will be exiled. Why? It is to keep those who seek justice. Is it to keep those who seek justice and liberation silent? Is it to keep those, in this instance, women, subdominant? Once Clarence Thomas was confirmed, the entire U.S. Senate, essentially run by white, wealthy men, many of whose property and assets are directly related to profits from slavery and the low wages of blacks once freed, women, and undocumented people, stood accused of being indifferent to women's dignity and women's rights. It also left black-skinned Clarence Thomas in debt to the opinions and desires of the very conservative senators who sacrificed Professor Hill's reputation and emotional well-being in favor of his awkward confirmation to the highest judicial bench in North America. Boys, girls, gender identity, sex talk, and the treatment of women. When I discuss gender, I know that we did not make ourselves. I also believe that we are neither male nor female, slave nor free, Jew nor Greek, for we are all one in Christ Jesus, Galatians 3:8. Whether we are male, female, black, white, rural, urban, gay, straight, or transgender, we all want the same things in life, and we are all created in the image of God. Although there are gray areas with regard to sexuality and gender identity, like most other cultures and races, sex talk and the treatment of girls, women, and the gender queer are rarely a discussion topic. Many blacks who were reared in the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s were taught that men do men's work and women do women's work. When I told a missionary that I would call her back after I started my husband's car, I made sure I did not mention my other chores, i.e. snow removal, emptying the trash, and gardening. She had expressed her perplexing displeasure, saying that certain things are man's work. This same associate would complain about the way her lover would rummage through her trash before taking it to the dumpster for her. In essence, she was willing to give up her privacy in exchange for doing what she considers to be a man's work or man's job. Some men joke with boys about sex and animal mating, while often girls are shut down with conversations regarding sex and sexuality. One 60-year-old female said, "My mother would not allow me to go to the prom because she didn't have the money and she didn't want me to come back pregnant." That was the extent of her sex talk as a teenager. One of my father's friends in his 70s at the time said, "When I took my wife to the prom, her father said, 'Don't take my daughter down a dark road.' I asked him, 'Well, what did you do?' He chuckled and said with a sheepish grin, 'I took her down a dark road.'" One lady recalled the way her father did not want her to ride a bicycle because she said she would have to open her legs, which to him had sexual connotations. Reverend Martin said that she was embarrassed the entire 9 months of her pregnancy. Rather than enjoying the miracle inside of her, she lived in shame for 9 long months. She said that although she was married, she was ashamed for the people to know what she had to do to conceive a child. I bet her husband was walking around loud, proud, and unashamed. Menstruation, reproduction, and gender identity issues are taboo issues as well. When two of my relatives were found to be sexually active, a family member took us all to an OBGYN who was married but seemed genderqueer and said to me, whatever you talk to Dr. Johnson about is between you and him. No one was either honest enough or prepared enough or even interested enough. Remember, many blacks were busy acquiring things and left latchkey kids to discover everything for themselves, to discuss sexuality or the roles of men and women in the family. We had to figure it out by hearing people talk about it with others rather than people talking to us. The unspoken motto in families was, do what you do, just don't embarrass the family. One of my fellow church members told her mother, you're going to die worrying about what people think. Gender identity is another area black people tend to shy away from. One black non-commissioned military veteran said to me, I could accept if my daughter were gay, but not my son. When I asked why, he said, because people will think I did something wrong if my son were gay. People overlook other males who have incidents with alleged prostitutes. However, as gifted as Eddie Murphy is, he will forever be remembered for being caught with what the low-down media outlets call the chick with a dick, or transsexual, or whatever politically correct term we use. Where there's an up, there's a down. Many men of color are on the down low with their sexual fluidity, and then there are those down front and up front women whom we discuss in the portraiture section of this book, who see and don't see, or who look the other way because of material comfort. We did not make ourselves. We are all made in the image of God, perfect, whole, and complete. Whether men show up in my life as ethical or unethical, trustworthy or untrustworthy, I have to keep going and continue to do what I know is right. Here's where I take my cue from poet Nikki Giovanni, my friend, pen pal, and legendary Peach, and her poem, Woman. She decided to become a woman, and though she refused to be a man, she decided it was all right. Born June 7, 1943, American poet, writer, commentator, activist, and educator Yolanda Cornelia Nikki Giovanni was called a living legend by Oprah Winfrey and the poet of the Black Revolution by many. She encouraged me in my life's work, the P15 Passbook, America's Passport for Unity, with her words, quote, Judi Love and her courageous fellow students at Hampton recognized the wrong of apartheid, and they decided to lift their voices against evil. Now we have this wonderful book, the P15 Passbook, leading us on a way to freedom here in our nature and freedom within ourselves, teaching us to love. What a wonderful experience, end quote. For this, Professor Giovanni wrote me a note during Women's History Month 2017. Dear Judi, I have written many poems about black women, and you are free to use any line you would like. Poetically, Nikki Giovanni. Professor Giovanni decided it was all right. It is all right. It is well with my soul. I heard a preacher say the world would be a better place if people just did what they were supposed to do. It was not surprising when a white male police detective said he lost a critical piece of evidence, Dr. Lincoln's actual voice on an answering machine recording apologizing in my assault trial with C. Eric Lincoln. It was, however, surprising to see how many black men and women supported a man who has since been publicly exposed as a serial sex offender by his cousin during her time in law school. Here's a transcript of her remarks after then Spelman College president, Dr. Janetta Cole's speech at the African American Women in the Academy Defending Our Name conference held at MIT in 1993. Quote, I walked onto Spelman's campus for the first time the very same month that you, Dr. Cole, arrived, and I cried because I did not know that Spelman was a woman's college. I did not consider myself to be an ignorant person generally. I am 43 years old and I have a relative who is probably well known to you and to others. His name is C. Eric Lincoln. And the reason why I am saying these words to you right now is because I walked onto campus yesterday morning And I was informed that unbeknownst to me, that same relative of mine had been involved in a trial that indicted him for sexual assault. Had I known about this trial these last few months of this last year, I would have walked to the hearing, because I would have told them that I am his cousin. I would have told them that the sister is probably telling the truth. I am saying right now that the reason I am raising the question and I am trying to be brief is because I want to know what African American women in the academy are going to do to make life safe for African American women and others on our campuses. I want to know when we are going to speak up and speak out with regard to the prestige or power or influence of our Negro elite as well as white people who abuse us. I want to know when we're going to raise the banner high to say no more, never again. Because, see, if I had been able to speak more openly to the openly to the rumbling crowd, the moderator said, please do not talk. She said, I won't be much longer. But if I had been able to find a voice at 12, 13, 14, 15 to age 22, then maybe this sister, she was referring to me, who walked in to get a position, not a bed or a prone position, maybe this sister would not have encountered a similar problem. There was no safe haven for me in those days. So I am saying, what on earth are we going to do sitting here talking about ... That was inaudible. What on earth are we sitting here raising questions about making change happen? How dare we call on the name of people like Sojourner Truth, who said we can turn it right side up again if we are not willing to speak up and speak out? I just met this sister. I just heard about this yesterday. I just met this sister on this campus. She tells me that African American women who are academicians have signed a letter of support and raised $75,000 for my cousin, Sierra Lincoln's defense fund. And I want to know, what are we going to do? What are we doing, and when is this insanity going to stop? And Dr. Janetta Cole replied, my sister, I'm going to respond to you by saying that there really are times when words won't do it. We aren't going to give you false, then that was inaudible. We heard your question. End quote. Attorney Margaret Burnham, a black female attorney who is possibly best known for representing Angela Davis, was engaged as a member of Sierra Lincoln's defense team. Quite naturally, it would look politically correct for an alleged known sex offender to have a black female attorney attack me, his latest, greatest black female victim. Although I neither saw nor met Ms. Burnham, the local newspaper reported that she withdrew the day before the trial for personal reasons. She had too much character. Thank you. Lincoln apologized to me on the answering machine tape, which a white male police officer allegedly lost. The angels were in position because I still had the original. The trial was about principle and protecting others so that history does not repeat itself. Lincoln never took the stand because Pincham said he failed during recess and had his attorney say that I was scorned because he would not write the introduction to my doctoral dissertation. They grabbed at any straw because, in fact, I was blessed to be doing very well without assistance. I simply wanted to be colleagues with the older black men, older than my father at the time. It is a fact that I was not leaning on Dr. Lincoln or anyone for academic support for my dissertation because I was an advanced doctoral scholar, Edmonds Chang Scholar, with a $6,000 award, I think, which was a lot in 1993, and was 2, on track to graduate after 4 years in an 11-year program. 3, neither Lincoln nor anyone else could write the introduction because it was an ethnography. I had to use people's words and observation data, which I had collected. Number 4, Lincoln used the challenges which I shared with him, with my former advisor, Charles Vert Willie, to wage war against me. Willie, who began to deny me access for meetings with him when I declined to a second term as his teaching fellow. I enjoyed being a teaching fellow for Willie and another professor, Paul Ilvasacker. However, I did not renew my contract to teach and grade papers because another black man, My husband, pastor of a church, needed my assistance as well. Number 5, Lincoln's legal defense stationery included names of the who's who in the black church and academic leadership, the Negro elite. A loyal friend who was solicited gave me a copy. C. Eric Lincoln left a message which the white male detective lost, but I had the original, where you can hear him saying, "When we transgress, God gives us, and I hope you will too." Adam Gorelick, a reporter for Lincoln's hometown newspaper, the Herald Sun, in Durham, falsely reported in an article dated Saturday, November 6, 1998, the answering machine message appeared to have included this statement by Lincoln: "God will forgive us as I have forgiven you." How can a message that everyone in open court can hear appear to include a statement? It is either there or it is not. Thank God and a whole lot of angels that I saved the original answering machine message, which the assistant DA, district attorney, played in court. Lincoln apologized to me, whereas Gorelick, in his mendacious mistrust of black women, made it appear as if the rapist was forgiving me. Willie is such a dishonest coward. He perjured himself and so wanted to protect what was left of his reputation at Harvard Graduate School of Education that he had the reporter spell his name Willy instead of Willie. But God sees everything. Good thing there was neither Google nor facial recognition software then. Willie was a tenured professor at Harvard. At most accredited universities, tenure can be terminated only if the professor does something grossly immoral. Although God is our only judge, I consider Willie's actions before, during, and after Lincoln's conviction, including his testimony at the trial, to be evil and grossly immoral. Lincoln asked for my forgiveness. Yes, I forgive Lincoln, Willie, and Gorelick. At the same time, whether people get caught, convicted in court, or by the Holy Spirit or not, it is time out for debasing, disrespecting, and violating women. I forgive him. At the same time, this illuminates that although I was intellectually equal to Lincoln and Willie, two old, non-Ivy League trained black men, my gender and perhaps confidence caused them to disregard, disrespect, and objectify me. They must have been color-struck and obsessed with my hair. At one point, Pincham showed 2 photos in court. One was one Dr. Lincoln had affixed to a plaque in his home. The other was one he may have gotten from my advisor. When Pincham showed the jury the photos, he said she gave them both to Lincoln and said, "Here's one with my hair straight, and here's one with my hair curly." Anyone knows me knows I could not even think like that. They were, like most black men and women, obsessed with all things hair. Why was Lincoln's lead attorney, a rude, bald black man, so obsessed with hair? The way we treat women and our consciousness in general is formed in part by the influence of our primary attachment figure. If we see those in our nuclear family or intimate circle respect women, we will think that they are worthy of our respect. In Black America, 75% of households are chaired by black women, grandmothers, mothers, great-grandmothers, aunties, and foster mothers. And as Mama D says, in that order. In some places like Liberty City, Miami, 91% of households are headed by women. And here, friends, is where we will stop at the end of chapter 2 from Peach's Womanist Thoughts on Finding Peace, Overcoming Peril, and Tapping Power. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you will subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and share it. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. Join me in the comment section and let me know what you think. And in the meantime, the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious unto you, and give you peace, power, and love. More love. Boost.